The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
Get ready for a no-nonsense approach to recovery. It's that guy who's living the dream rather than dreaming of living. You know him as the Addiction Doctor. Now, here's the Monty Man to introduce Dr. Rob Kelly on this episode of Take 12 Recovery Radio's The Rob Kelly Hour.
That's right. Welcome aboard, one and all, to another episode of the Rob Kelly Hour with the world's addiction doctor, Dr. Rob Kelly, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, live and in full color. And in the studio with us, we have a studio full of co-hosts today. We have Roger McDermott all the way up from Huntington Beach, California. Roger, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm terrific and happy to be here, indeed.
If you're watching on YouTube, there's Roger on the right.
Hello, everybody.
And there's Derek there on the left.
Good morning.
Good morning, Derek. How you doing today?
Excellent. Thank you, Monty.
And CADC Level 2, Dave Fleming from Entitled to Overcome Solutions for Life today, the third Monday of the month. So the room is full. And on the phone with us is none other than the man himself, Dr. Rob Kelly. What the heck's happening, Dr. Rob?
It's all good, my man. All good. Great to see you. Hey, guys, good to see you in the studio. I'll hear you and the guys listening at home. Listen, guys, if you're listening at home now, you just sit down and hold the chair because we've got Roger, Derek, and Dave, and Monty, and me. This is going to be the best show that you've ever heard.
Hey, I love it. I love it. So what do you got? What do you
Hold on tight.
I hold on tight.
Here we go.
We talk about that Dr. Kelly always has a no-nonsense approach to recovery, and that is the truth. So what kind of no-nonsense recovery are we talking about this month, Dr. Rob?
What are you willing to do to fully recover from alcoholism is the topic today, and it opens a wide brand of questions, concerns, and thought patterns around that, because I know when I finally came around, I didn't want my kids back, Monty. I didn't want my money back. I didn't want my cars, my houses, my parents. I didn't want anything back. The only thing I wanted when I walked back into that room was the compulsion to drink to be taken away. That's all I wanted. Now, the rest that happened is amazing, but that's the only thing I wanted, because I always wanted it for other people. If I could just get sober for my wife, if I could just stop for my children. You know, I remember stabbing my wife 3 times one night because she won't let me finish drinking. I mean, I just wanted all that to stop and get back to normal. But what I didn't know then, but I know now, is alcoholism. 1% alcohol has to do with it. The rest is what I need to do. The rate, psychic change, change of neural pathways with the hypothalamus and the basal ganglia all need to change before I'm able to fully recover. And that's what we're talking about today. We're not talking about being in recovery. The book mentions that big book we all like, guys, out there. It's 27 times recovered, and it mentions 17 times recover, and recovering only twice, and that is to the wives and to the employers.
So do you think that a lot of people, when they first come into the, let's say, the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, for instance, that what they really want is they want the consequences to stop? They really don't know anything about the fact that they can recover, and they just want to, they just want the pain to stop, and that's all?
I think that's definitely part of it, but what we have to remember as well, especially where I come from in England, Manchester, is there's meetings that don't have books, that don't have information, that don't have the right approach. So when I was told when I went to meetings in and out for 10 years was, you'll get it by osmosis. I still don't know what that means. Keep coming back, Rob. It works if you work it. And what works, guys? Oh, just, we've saved you a seat in here. You've earned your seat in here. If you feel like relapsing, go and have a bath. This is the stuff I honestly got told. It got that bad sometimes that I wanted to call the police and have them all done for attempted murder. Because I kept relapsing and relapsing and relapsing, and these guys didn't know what they were talking about. And I got really mad at 12-step rules for a long time. I mean, because you guys in the room that I went to, you're my peers. I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to do, and some of the information is not right. So I think when people finally come in, and again, we have to look at treatment centers, sending their guys to us, sex offenders, us, whatever it is that the courts decide, send them into our rooms. And of course, what happened back in the 40s and 50s is Alcoholics Anonymous buckled under the weight. And we're trying to recover from that ever since.
Yeah. So when you ask the question, what are you willing to do to overcome alcoholism, it makes me think of that question that a lot of sponsors or potential sponsors will ask their potential sponsee right in the beginning. Are you willing to go to any length to recover from alcoholism? And usually the answer comes back, well, what does that mean? Which is the wrong answer, right?
Yeah. All the time it happens, I've worked with over 7,000 people in the last 30-odd years. Bearing in mind, I used to do big book studies with 500 people at a time. But you always get the same questions, well, I'll do that, but I don't know. Or what does that entail? Who gives a shit what it entails? Are you willing to go to any lengths for victory over alcohol? It's a yes or no is a full enough answer. You don't need to get into detail, yes or no. And if there's a but there, then you're not ready. The book tells me I don't waste my time on people that don't want it. I leave them a copy of the book and then move on to somebody else. And I'm very almost bordering on aggressive when I do that. Because when I first got sober, when I recovered, when I had the spiritual awakening and the psychic change, therefore my DNA changed, because the book said the same man will drink again. I wanted to save the world. And what happened is I was chasing these guys that didn't really want it. And what happened to me is I almost have a nervous breakdown through exhaustion trying to save these guys.
Right. Well, don't you think a lot of people, when they first start sponsoring people, have a tendency in their immaturity to have a bit of a savior mentality anyway?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on this topic the other day as sponsors. We had guys sponsoring 16 people when we went in a meeting. This guy has never done the steps, by the way. But he's been sober for 16 years, so it baffles me. I mean, it just baffles me. It's like going through a math class with a book and going, hey, this is my math book, 2 and 2 equals 4. And these guys in the room are going, oh, no, it's 5. It's definitely 5. They're going, well, the book says 4. The book says recover. Oh, you can never recover from alcoholism. It's one day at a time. Not even an AA thing, one day at a time. Right. 90 and 90 came from a judge in Akron. Where are these guys getting this stuff from? I say to them all the time, how many people have you killed with that line that you just come out with? The mind works like this. If I tell you a lie, you're going to believe it, you're going to not. If I tell you a lie often enough, you're going to believe it. But if I tell a lie often enough, then I'm going to start to believe it. So when I'm going to these rooms saying I can't recover, don't worry about the book, you can choose a God of your own understanding. It never says that in the big book. Never says it. It says I've got to pick a God as I understand him, capital H. But you can choose your own concepts of God, but it has to be a God. Allah, Buddha, Jesus, whatever works for you. We have no monopoly on God. You can't choose a God of your own understanding. I can't choose a freaking light bulb or a door. What sort of crap? Hey, I want to thank the group for keeping me sober. Why the hell are you thanking the group? No human power. Oh, I want to use the group as my higher power. What is wrong with you? Who's teaching you this crap? No human power can relieve my alcoholism. But God could and would. And on the next page, it says we have placed ourselves beyond human aid. Why are you thanking the group, for God's sake?
Yeah. So my sponsor used to say, if I'm powerless and you're powerless, 0 plus 0 is 0.
Exactly.
Right. So power
has to come from a higher power.
Yeah.
Has to come. The book says most and vital regarding that God. You know, just there's 27,000 gods, guys. Pick a god, for God's sake. Just pick a god. Doesn't mean it has to be a god, but pick one. There's 27,000. Pick one. You know, mine is Jesus. And I love Jesus, and I love God, and I love what he's done in my life. But I have no monopoly. Just choose a god, and let's get on with it. This isn't a big deal. You know, how far are you willing to go? Well, I'm prepared to do anything. Good. First of all, good. And secondly, write that phrase down, because we're going to be repeating that in a couple of weeks' time when you start going, well, I'm not sure about this, and I'm not sure about that. It's like, just if you're willing to go to any of this, I can guarantee you that you can recover. I will guarantee that you will recover from alcoholism. Because here's a couple of things that people don't know. The 12 steps and the program is 100% guaranteed for those people that are willing to go to any of this. The second thing is, and I hear it sometimes, Rob, I was doing my program and then a relapse. Stop. You can't have both. You was either working your program or you relapse. Pick one of those. You can't have both. It's impossible to relapse while you work in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, period. And give me one reason why you relapsed. Well, my uncle's dog. No, that's an excuse. Give me a reason. Well, give me a reason. We haven't got one.
Yeah. Something in the program is missing. There's a chunk that you didn't do. You know, and you allude to that all the time. Roger, let me ask you. Were you asked when you first got into recovery, were you asked that question, are you willing to go to any length?
Yeah, when I met him and I asked him to be my sponsor, that's the 3 questions he gave me. He said, first of all, are you an alcoholic? And I said, yes. And he said, are you willing to go to any lengths to stay sober? And I said, yes. And then he looked me in the eye and he said, are you teachable? And I basically lied to him and said, yes.
Oh. And how'd that work for you?
Teachable.
How'd that work for you in the beginning?
I've never relapsed.
Yeah.
When I was done, and that was that. I love everything that Dr. Kelly said. Absolutely.
Yeah. Derek, were you asked that question? Are you willing to go to any length?
I wasn't actually, in terms of a conversation, asked that question that I can recall. Maybe I was. I don't recall that, but I knew inherently in my mind and in my heart that I had to ask myself that question. And when I finally came to the point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and I was done, I knew that it was going to require of me whatever it was going to take. And so maybe I asked myself that question.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Dave, were you asked that question?
I'm an interesting character. So I heard that out of the literature, right?
Right.
The how, right? Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And so when after I had my spiritual awakening, where I finally, identified that there is a God.
Yeah.
Because he revealed himself to me. When I got out of jail, I jumped, or actually before I even left the place, I jumped into that psychic change. I was in the middle of that.
Yeah.
I believe. And so I just did everything, of course I do it, 1,000%. I'm a good addict that way,
Right.
And so my first sponsor had an interesting time with me because I did everything that I was supposed to without even having to be asked to do it. I was already ahead of. He's like, I don't know what to do with you. I said, just be there for me when I need you, and have that conversation. And the other thing that I wanted to just throw out there is Dr. Rob was talking about the program stuff. Is like the one thing that pisses me off more than anything is when people are told that relapse is part of your recovery. So when they come up and say, I relapsed, I was working a program and I relapsed.
Yeah.
That's BS because I was told relapse is part of recovery.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right. Yeah, my sponsor put it really well. He goes, it's a part of it's never a part of recovery until it happens. And then it can be, but you should never teach that it's part of recovery.
Well, then because you're already burning that into your brain.
Right.
Right? Like
right.
You repeat it often enough, it becomes so.
Dr. Kelly, you've heard that, right? You've heard people teach that relapse is part of recovery. And that's my mother would say that's horse manure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, recovery is part of the disease. There's no doubt about that. If you're not getting help, you don't know where to go. When the hypothalamus is telling us to drink and the basal ganglia self-sabotage every couple of days or weeks, whatever that cycle is. I mean, we're always being told that, but, you know, it's not part of the solution. And I've been to treatment centers and spoken. This is what I hear. You know, oh, there's 12 of us in the class here. This time next month, 9 would have relapsed. And it's like, why are you teaching that? The alcoholic brain will give any excuse to relapse. And if you're telling them that, you're giving permission. So when something goes wrong, you know, when they get out the first, second day, they go, well, they said 8 out of 10. So, you know, it's just, you know, we're teaching lies. We're telling lies. And you can't even blame the guys that are doing it because, you know, they don't know.
A lot of that's what they're being taught.
A lot of meetings, treatment centers we go to is all for profit anyway. As you know, Monty, we're the only company that offers you a money-back guarantee. If you relapse, where's the other guys? Like, hang on a second. Yeah, I can't hear them either. You know, if you do it for the right reason, you've got God in this solution, then everything's going to be okay. But everybody wants to mess around a little bit, you know? Oh, well, you know, the relapse, no. Third alcoholic recovered immediately. There's no reason to talk about relapse immediately, and so on and so forth. And I've seen people, what does the book say? You do 1 to 5, after step 5, go home. Come back the next day, finish it off. You know, the quicker you get to step 12, having had a spiritual way, having had being the operative word, then we're home and safe. Now we need to maintain that spiritual growth, and we need to maintain, when we go back to that line again, is how willing are you to stay sober, what you eventually, you know, able to do. And the answer has to be anything that the book tells me. If a sponsor's telling you to do something, it's in the book, you better do it. If he's telling you not to do something, there's plenty of those guys around, unfortunately, then you run as far as you can and you get another sponsor who knows what the hell he's talking about. But we don't do that because AA's got down 3-4% right now. You know, when you look at the rooms, but I want to back that up real quick by saying those people that get into the right rooms, you know, BYOBB here, Chris Raymer's group, I'm sure you guys know a few, is 100% guaranteed success rate. 100%.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, more with this question: what are you willing to do to overcome alcoholism? Don't go away. More with Dr. Rob Kelly and co-host when we come back. Listen to this. As folks in recovery, do you ever feel like your circumstances are controlling the way you act, think, and feel? I mean, why can't other people just behave and grow up? If everyone would just look at life the way we do, all would be well, right? Yes, we have all felt this way a time or two, but what if this is a common issue? I mean, what if you're constantly being let down by others and you seem to get knocked off your emotional balance beam time and time again? Well, 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety, the brand new book by popular recovery author Dr. Alan Berger, will help you get unstuck from the emotional dependency that we can all fall into while working our recovery programs. In this book, you will learn the therapeutic value of self-awareness and recover your true self as you experience emotional sobriety. For an autographed copy of 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety, visit www.abphd.com. This book is also available on Amazon. Feeling stuck in your recovery? Why not get unstuck today with 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety?
And I'm getting old. Artie Kornfeld, and you're listening to Take 12 Radio, recovery talk, and positive music.
All right, welcome back to the show. You have tuned into the Rob Kelly Hour, production of Take 12 Recovery Radio. And in the studio with me this month on the Rob Kelly Hour is Roger McDermott. If you're watching on YouTube, there's Roger. Wave, Roger. Hey, there you are. Hey, Roger, what do you think of all this that Dr. Rob Kelly's talking about? Have you heard a lot of nonsense in the rooms?
I've heard a lot of nonsense in the rooms, for sure. Like drinking is optional. I'm just not going to drink today. I'll take care of tomorrow.
Hey, hold on just a second. Dr. Rob, we're getting an echo, and I think it's coming off your phone. Maybe.
Okay. Look, is this all through the program? Because I'm in the same place with the same headphones on.
Only when we talk.
Oh, that's weird.
There. Okay.
It's gone now.
It's gone now. Ah, that's amazing. See? Oh, there it is again. Oh, well, that's fine. Anyway, go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, so you hear lots of crazy stuff in the rooms, but like I said, when I was done, and it was not optional.
Yeah.
It says in the book, right, we learned we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we're an alcoholic, and this is the first step in recovery.
Right.
I don't even believe you can do the first step of the 12 until you've done that, and that means it's not optional. Today, tomorrow, or ever.
Right.
When I was done, I was done.
So we have a lot. I think what's happened, and Dr. Rob, see if you concur with this. I think we have a lot of people in the program who've become sponsors that were alcohol abusers, but they weren't alcoholics, and so they just went to some meetings, drank bad coffee, and they were able to stay sober. And then they're teaching other people that they can do the same thing, and then they aren't able to do the same thing, and then they get mad at them when they relapse.
Exactly. What does the book tell us about that? He says his attention should be drawn to you, a recovered alcoholic. So if you're in the rooms, playing this game of sponsoring people with no advice, what you're really doing is you're attempting murder is what you're doing, because this is a life or death thing. Stop playing God. Unless you've been through the program yourself, unless you've been there. When you take the first drink, can you stop? There's a huge difference between the heavy drinker, the abuser, and the real alcoholic. You can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic for those guys who think you can. It's a predisposition. We're born this way. When I set the first drink, all bets are off. So if I go into a room and this sponsor is a heavy drinker who stopped from day one with no book and nothing, and no God in his life, nothing, and he expects me to stop just like that, it isn't going to happen. And what happened to me is I was coming out of the rooms going, well, I'm different. I'm different to these guys because I just can't do it. I just can't do it. But nobody sat me down and told me, you've got a defense against the first drink once we start doing the book and the steps. And I'm like, what? He said, what does step one say, Rob? I said, we're powerless over alcohol. He said, read it again. I read it again. We're all powerless over it. No, it doesn't, Rob. He said, we admitted we were. It's a past tense step. If I'm powerless over alcohol, how did I get to the studio this morning passing 5 liquor stores? I am not powerless. It's were. It's a past tense.
Right.
And once I admitted I was powerless, I'm not now. We were in the park. We're not now. We were at shopping, or we were at lunch. It's a past tense. Once I realized that, the power that I got from that. And when we look at the book, the wordsmiths, vital, necessary to life, daily reprieve. Reprieve means a stay of execution. It doesn't mean, this is serious stuff that these sponsors need to be teaching their sponsees, because if you miss 1% out of this program and you're the real deal, you will relapse. You will relapse, because that's just the way the brain is. If we don't have the psychic change and the DNA change, then we will. You can go to 100 meetings in a week. It would make no difference. It's not the meetings we make, it's the steps we take. End of story. And, by the way, Monty, you can't say recovered on the radio. What? Shut up. Do you know what recovered means? It's got nothing to do with alcohol. Recovered means, and I'll quote from the English Oxford, because that's where me and the 6 of the Oxford group guys went to Oxford University, to gain one's health and state of mind back. Well, if I have a twisted mind with a mental obsession, and when I put alcohol in my body, I have the allergy, then I've recovered from the allergy, and I've recovered from that obsessive mind.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm going to ask Derek this. Derek, I remember there was a time when you were questioning, why did I go back out?
Yeah.
Right? I can't seem to get a handle on this thing.
Right.
Does this make sense to you, all this that he's talking about?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So before I actually had the awakening, I too was that guy. Meetings and residential treatment, trying in my own strength, living in denial, perpetual relapse. And then I met Jesus. I got filled with the Holy Spirit. And then that began the help through his power, the supernatural transformation of my mind, the renewing of my mind. And over time, like Dr. Rob has just suggested, the deliverance from the obsession and the compulsion and the desire to want to drink is gone for the first time in my life. It's an incredible thing. And that means me walking in obedience. And in terms of being willing to do whatever it takes, to eliminate my own desires, my passions and dreams in pursuit of obeying God's will for my life and serving others, has been a huge dynamic in my recovery. So I can relate to everything that he shared already.
Yeah. So that's good
It's
news.
amazing when you think about it.
It is.
When you go back and see what we get in return for that. So, what does the step say? Hand my will and my life. So let's go back to the word will. Oxford English again, will means choices. So when I have my choices and my life holds the care of God, as I understand him, then we get the power. The book says that we're empowered. Once we're empowered, then we can save other alcoholics from the gates of insanity and to death. He didn't give that to the scientists or the doctors or the Bitcoin owners. He gave it to us, the guys that he took. I know for a fact that my time on the streets, my time of losing my children, my wife, my car, everything, when the year and 2 months on the streets that I hated everybody and anything, when I look back now, that was like a semester at Harvard. But I didn't know it then. We go through this trouble, we go through all this stuff we go through, and then when you're ready, the book says that he will show himself. And that's when all the 132 promises in the first 164 came true for me. I had to do all the 102, I think, must words. I got all the messages that the book was telling me, and the 352 God words in the first 164. Once I started to look then and read the book, my life is unbelievable. To go from homelessness to where I am today, one of the best doctors in the medical addiction world. Harvard put me down last week as, or McLean Hospital, part of Harvard University, put me down as. That's humanly impossible, guys. It's humanly impossible. I had to have God's help. And once I was willing, I just asked for a platform. Give me a platform that I can speak to everybody. And the last show I did was 18 million people, I think, on TV. That's the platform, you know? And I fully believe you can recover. I fully believe that God will give you everything you want. And I fully believe that we're supposed to give this away to keep it.
You know, you do a lot of presentations on television. For instance, the TV show, The Doctors. What is the kind of response you get from folks? Do they think you've lost your mind, or are they on the same page with you?
Some are, some not. Some of the doctors are now. We should don't forget my methods. 15 years ago when I came here was first of all, they laughed and said that's not possible. There's no such thing as a psychic change in neural pathways, like remolding the brain. And then 5 years after that, it came out as if there is. So people laughed at first, then you took notice, and now they chase our program and what we do. And I've got to tell you this. I don't think Monty have ever told you this before, but I often say when I'm speaking on stage is I've spent 23 years in schools, universities, to be as educated as I am today on neuroscience and the disease itself. I don't believe nobody knows any more than I do about neuroscience. I'm up there with the best of them. And I have to tell you, the first 164 pages of the big book pertaining to the recovery of one alcoholic to another is the best piece of literature I have ever read, period.
Yeah. You have said that before, and I concur with that. And certainly you don't have the education you do, but I've noticed that when people actually follow the directions, they do recover. What about people in the recovery community? Do you get a lot of kickback from them?
Well, I used to. Don't forget, when I first came over here, I had to wait about a year before I could renew my license over here. So I got like, oh, you're getting paid. You should be doing the service plane. You know, you're just doing this for money. You know, and they don't know nothing about me. So apparently, God gave me this physique that I'm your worst nightmare if you wanted to argue or fight. God's put me at 6 foot, you know, at 240 pounds, muscled, aggressive when I want to be, kind as anything, give you the shirt off my back. So there's not a lot of people say it to my face. In fact, no one said it to my face, but you hear from whispered. It's like, look, you're forgetting one thing over here, guys, that God's given me all the power, all the armor and everything to face everybody. I'm the guy with the big mouth. I'm the guy that you can't approach and go, that's BS. You can't say that. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not taking for that stuff. You know, Isaiah 61 tells me that I was brought over here to bring good news to the family and to the sufferer. And that's why I came over to America. And
Wow.
I'm one of the very few doctors that will argue with you and, if need be, give you a little slap on the back and say, behave yourself, because that's what I'm here for. And I love it. And I'm loud and I'm proud and I don't care. I really don't care about your feelings and your opinions. Your opinions don't pay my mortgage, so please go away with them. I don't even want to speak to you about that. So yeah, it's been a great ride.
Yeah, well, you have no problem speaking your mind, and I think that's probably one of the problems we have in today's fellowships. We don't have enough people standing up for what the literature says, and we got a lot of opinions. I love it when I go to a speaker meeting, and somebody says, "All right, I am not going to share with you my opinion. I'm going to share with you the program." I love that.
Well, you got the
98%. My opinion will kill you.
Yeah.
You know, my opinion, I always say that to people. But the thing is, when the treatment center people started coming in our meetings, when they were around 100% near Akron, when people started coming in, now we're scared of hurting somebody's feelings. Oh, listen, Rob, don't mention God. We've got a newcomer. Yeah, that's the wrong, you've just told the wrong person, man. You know, I'm going to offend you if you come away from the book. If you tell a newcomer some BS while you're trying to impress the young girls that have relapsed, you know, and you're 20 years sober, I'm going to pull you in that room. And I'm going to pull you in front of all these people. So don't come that crap with me. You know, some people hate me. Some people want to be me. And the others love me for who I am. And I'm good with that.
Dave, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say we've been spending too much time over the last probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, if not longer. The 98% is worried about what the 2% think.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right? Everyone's worried about offending that 1 or 2% of the population. So they're telling everybody, you know, this thing about being politically correct is bullshit. Excuse my language.
It really is.
But
It
right,
really is, you know.
I'm going to put it out there because that's the truth. That's the way we got to get back on track here. We got to get our lives back and help everyone else get their lives back and quit all this BS. I remember when I was in treatment 17 and a half or 18 years ago now, and I went to the same place twice, and it's a really high-end place. I don't know how I ended up there, except the fact that I got to go back on Saturdays and tell the people, you know, you gotta, before you even leave here, you know, after 28 days, that you gotta at least get the first step. Right?
Yeah.
Or you might as well just freaking reserve a room on your way out the door for 2 months from now.
Yeah, go drink.
Or do
something
something different.
That's what we tell them all the time. Go drink if you're not getting this. Go drink if you've not done the deal.
Yeah.
It's very powerful in our group in San Antonio. There's about 50 people now. We only started 9 months ago. It's very powerful when a newcomer comes in, and they do every week. When they come in this Saturday morning, and you go around the room and introduce yourself, and this is what you hear in this room, which the brain takes notice of. My name's Johnny, recovered alcoholic. My name's Billy, recovered alcoholic. My name's John, recovered alcoholic. It's contagious. You know, it's like a pet rally when we do our meeting. It's like, follow the book and get the trauma sorted out, and you will live in a new and wonderful world. At last, you know, and then when we live in this world, it's like, you know, I signed an office deal a couple of years ago in Dallas for $1 million over, like, I don't know, 50 years. People said I was insane. I'm like, yeah, what can they do to me that hasn't already been done? This is where we get our new life when we're reborn. It's like, I've been to hell and back. You think you're going to scare me with taking my office off me? Big deal. I don't care. I'm going to take risks today because I'm going to live my life the best I can every single day.
So let me ask you this. I want to bring up Matt to you, medically assisted treatment.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, here we go. In my brain, the jury's still out on that. But I want to ask you, do you think that is actually helping the addict and the alcoholic, or do you think that is hindering the addict and alcoholic when we introduce medically assisted treatment?
So what you got to look at, first of all, if you're on a taper because you're coming really bad, then that's fine. But let me tell you something real clear now, guys. Suboxone and all the stuff, substitute for heroin that they're taking and whatever it is they're taking, the brain doesn't know the difference between a street drug and a medical drug. You cannot solve a drug addiction with another drug. You just can't do it. Now, if you're really bad and you need to taper off for a couple of weeks, I'm okay with that. But if you're on Suboxone for the next 5 years, hey, listen, guys, try and come off that. If you think heroin was bad, try and come off Suboxone. It will almost kill you because it's worse. There's no such thing. You either want to get sober or you're not. Don't even talk about California sober. I'm not even going there. You either want to get clean and sober or you don't. Stop going for the easier, softer way. Oh, well, I'm really bad coming off it. I need some help. No, you don't. Nobody's died from coming off heroin or any other drug. Alcohol's the only one you can die coming off. So suck it up. How long? Hand your will choices and your life over the care of God as you understand Him, and let us get this deal done. So I'm not for it. Some people are, but the people that are not real alcoholics and drug addicts. You can't do this. You have to come off clean. The brain still knows it is a drug, and it affects the central nervous system. It affects the prefrontal cortex, the basal ganglia, and the hypothalamus. It also affects the mirroring part of the midbrain. There is no way, if you have a substitute, are you clean? It's a bit like telling you, Monty, that, hey, you can't drink whiskey like you used to, but I tell you what, you can have 2 pints of beer every day. We can't do that. Drug addicts can't do that. Sooner or later, you're going to relapse.
Comments, Dave?
I ain't got nothing to say. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, just like Monty wants to poke the bear.
I do.
I actually happened to work at a MAT program because I needed a job, and it was who was hiring at the time. But I've already told them, that I don't necessarily agree with, and I'm not an MAT person. I'm a counselor. Like, I'm here to help people get sober and get off of the drugs. So if that fits, okay. If not, maybe this isn't the place for me. I've told them that straight out.
Yeah.
So I'm there still so far, but yeah.
They're okay with you so far, right?
Apparently, yeah. Yeah, and everybody, the clients like me, so.
Yeah. Did you ever have to, Derek, take anything to wean off? You didn't, did you? You were a cold turkey guy, right?
Pretty much, yep.
Yeah.
I wanted to be free and clean and sober and not dependent upon anything other than just my relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Roger, same thing?
Same thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was done, I was done.
Yeah.
I didn't need any medically assisted anything.
Right.
Yeah, I was too. But the one thing I do, there are a few people that that I know because of pain, like physical pain issues, like they're waiting for. It's such a crazy system. They're waiting for like a surgery, right? And they can't stand the pain. It's so bad, and so they take some painkillers. Usually end up being on the street because they can't get any from their doctor anymore to deal with the pain until they can get their surgery. Problem is they can't get their surgery until they get off the pain pills. So the
vicious cycle.
The Suboxone and the methadone helps bridge that until they can get in to get their surgery scheduled. I know a handful that I'm dealing with right now that I totally see the craziness in our system. But
Yeah.
to their credit, they have actually gotten off of the illicit drugs so that they can get to the surgery, so they can get off of these painkillers and the substitutes.
Dr. Kelly, comments?
Yeah, I think one thing we have to remember as well is, there are certain circumstances, and I'm all for that. When they come here, put on something, we'll taper. Put on something, we'll pain, we'll look at the situation. But you have to remember, and I've medically proven this, that when you're on the drugs like methadone and Suboxone and others out there, you cannot have a psychic change, which is a change in neural pathways. Neural pathways will always self-sabotage where there is a brain-changing mood substance within you. That's a fact you cannot have. So if the book tells us that it's vital to have the psychic change, and then the spiritual awakening, which you're not going to have either, and then your DNA is not going to change, which means that you're going to relapse. But I love what you just said about the guy, they're going to come off here to do, that's a plan. You come here with a plan, and we're going to take you all day long, because 95% of heroin addicts that come to me, 95% started in the doctor's office.
Yes.
And that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe that. I believe that.
What happened to morphine, guys? When my mom was sick, when, she had cancer, they gave her morphine. Thousands of millions of people around the world, morphine. Now we come out with something a million times stronger than morphine. Why? There's only one reason why. And that's to get addicts hooked on it so they can synthetically put it together and sell it to the streets and make billions and billions of dollars.
So the question we asked today on the topic today is, what are you willing to do to overcome alcoholism? In today's world, Dr. Kelly, do you see that the majority of the people you work with are co-addicted, not just alcoholics?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Or something. Or they've got bipolar. Or they've got depression. Or they've got manic behavior. It all ties into one. And this is what we found out about trauma is the gateway drug. So very rarely do we have somebody come along and just have alcoholism or just have drug addiction. There's either or there's other illnesses and ailments that they've been carrying because of the alcohol and the drugs. So once we bring them off certain drugs, if they want to, medically assisted or whatever, once they come off, it opens them up to different ideas, and God can start to work with you. But yeah, definitely more than one thing happening at one time, because we don't know what we don't know. And I think one of the most misunderstood illnesses in the world is alcoholism. Ask a lot of people out there what's alcoholism. They'll tell you it's somebody who drinks so much alcohol. It's got hardly anything to do with alcohol. It's all about trauma. It's all about remapped neural pathways that are sabotaging. That's why we're born this way. We can't drink ourselves. You become an alcoholic. So knowledge is very powerful. And once my patients start to hear, the knowledge behind it all, that alcohol's not your problem. The pills with the alcohol are not your problem. And the reason why you're depressed all the time and you want to kill yourself is because you're taking the pills, and it's just a vicious circle. So when someone steps in and go, hey, we can fix this. You don't take any more drugs or ever drink it. We can fix this. And then all that God word that no people like to mention, he will work miraculous things for us once we're on the right track. I truly believe that each and every one of us that suffers from alcoholism or drug addiction has been chosen by God to be trained, to be educated, to go through the experience so we can go on and heal other people with his power.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Fully agree.
Do you think that back in the days of the founders, Dr. Bob, Bill Wilson, Bill Dotson, all these guys, was there co-occurring mental health issues going on then as well?
I think so. When you look at the story, especially Bill W., when you look at his story, there's a lot of other things going on as well. So yeah, I think, but again, the factor driving all of this was the alcohol, because we never knew back then how damaging it was, and we never realized that it causes this. I mean, you heard Friday night, we're going out for drinks tonight, want to celebrate, it'll be amazing. When everyone knows that alcohol is a depressant, you know, but it's part of this education as well. So I think there was, well, in the first edition, when it rolled off, it was Dr. Alcoholic Addict from Dr.
Right.
Bob, and then they took her out the next because people moaned about addicts. And I get the alcohol and different, alcohol and drugs are different. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. Okay?
Right.
Now, I can almost hear the comments flying in now, but you've got to remember the research I've done. What I do most of the time is I take the big book, then I back it by the medical information today that proves that the big book had it right all them years ago, back in 1938 when they were writing this deal.
They didn't even know how right they were, right?
How did they do it? It baffles me. It baffles me how the medical fraternity 10 years ago go, okay, we've solved the problems. You can remold the brain and remap it. I was at a huge conference, and there must have been about 1,000 people there. I was one of 5 doctors on stage, and they talked about this new thing they developed and how interesting it would be. And I swear, I stood up and held a big book in my hand above my head, and the room automatically went silent. And I stepped up to the microphone and I pointed out where these guys were telling us this 70-odd years ago. It's like the stuff in that book is gold dust. There's no way did 100 men and women write that book. They had to have divine, because who knew back then? Nobody knew. The scientific research was nothing back in the day, and yet they've proven time and time again that it was always there. It was always 100% healing all of the time. And it's just been watered down sponsors, watered down God, meetings that don't really use the book. You know, it's just all adds up to the state that we're in today, which is a bit of a mess.
Right, right. So the question remains, what are you willing to do to overcome alcoholism? So for those that are listening, what are you willing to do? Are you really willing to go to any length? Are you willing to follow the directions? Are you willing to take a few steps that are proven as a proven program of recovery so you can experience a state of recovered? Or are you going to argue semantics at recovered, recovering, blah, 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 and never do the actual work? I wish, Dr. Rob, that sometimes I wish they would take the steps off the wall. Because when I first walked into Alcoholics Anonymous, I sat there and read the steps on the wall, and I really believed, because I had no one to guide me, I really believed that I read them, therefore I did them. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I think more education is needed. More leaders need to stand up. Because if you're at home right now, guys, thinking that you're not good enough, you're never going to amount to anything, you can't stop drinking, and this is your life, I want to apologize to you. Somebody's put that there. We are born with $1 million minds. Stop hanging around the 10-cent minds, otherwise you'll become one of those. Remember, empowered people empower people.
Yeah, amen. We are out of time. Dave, closing thoughts.
Oh, brother. The thing that popped into my head was don't be a statistic, right? Because, and I just to touch on something earlier, you know, that Rob was saying about, you know, being told that you're gonna, you know, you're a statistic. I would tell people when I went back to do meetings, I said, you don't have to be a statistic. You can be the 98% who actually recover.
Right.
Right. Don't be a statistic, because I'm living my life not as the statistics, but as victorious, as a recovered person.
Yeah. Amen. So, Jarrett, closing thoughts.
I just really love what the doctor said there, Rob said about being as an alcoholic, a recovered alcoholic, chosen by God with a purpose to see other people walk in that same freedom. That's awesome. I love that. That's really encouraging. Too. That's the purpose.
Yeah. Roger, closing thoughts from Roger McDermott.
I like what Bill said in Bill Dotson's kitchen. He said, I'm so grateful that the Lord has cured me of this terrible disease that I just want to keep telling people about it. That says it all for me. Dr. Bob said if you put half of the energy in that you're used to getting another drink, this program will never fail you. Your Heavenly Father will never leave you.
Yeah, never leave you or forsake you.
Yep.
Good stuff. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for another great show.
Of course, my man, and I just want to give this out. There's 12 people in the room. I'm going to tell people this time next month, 11 of you will have recovered.
Hey, I like that. I like that a lot. All right, brother. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. Our closing song this month is by Michael Purrington and the Messengers. It is entitled How to Have a Good Time. I want you to check it out. I'm having technical difficulty here. There we go. Here's Michael and the Messengers with How to Have a Good Time.
I was staring at the mirror back behind the bar, saying to myself, self, I don't know who you are. The bartender, he ignored me when I ordered a refill, probably 'cause I ran a tab and never paid the bill. I knew how to have a good time. I was on the road and in my prime, broke and drunk out of my mind. I knew how to have a good time. At a table in the corner sat a cowgirl barfly. I stumbled to the jukebox, winked at her, said hi. She took one look at me and then she headed for the door and swore she was giving up drinking as she threw up on the floor. I knew how to have a good time. I was on the road and in my prime, broke and drunk out of my mind. I knew how to have a good time.
Hey, we've got much more from you from Dr. Rob Kelly and others. Simply visit us at take12radio.com. Scroll down to the Recovery Workshops banner, click on it, and there you'll find archives of great recovery workshops, including the Rob Kelly Hour. And if you're looking for more great recovery music like this song by Michael Purrington, same website, take12radio.com. Click on the Recovery Music banner. All right, now back to Michael Purrington.
Thank God those days are gone. I'm sober and serene, but I get God awful grateful when I share these memories. I got a good life to live, and buddy, when I die, carve on my tombstone, he went home to heaven dry. Now I know how to have a good time. I'm on the road and in my prime, healthy, hopeful, feeling fine. I know how to have a good time. I know how to have a good time. Hey, I know how to have a good time.
Mr. Michael Purrington and the Messengers, How to Have a Good Time. A very special thank you to my co-host this week and to the addiction doctor, Dr. Rob Kelly, for this episode of the Rob Kelly Hour. For more great recovery shows and positive music, check out our website at take12radio.com and subscribe on any of the podcasting platforms listed there. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio family, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Meow, meow, meow.
Woof, woof.